Hi, I'm Eric with Simply Elegant Home Cooking. Today I'm going to show you my recipe for a bone-in pork chop cooked in a cast iron skillet with the Dijon mustard pan sauce featuring fresh thyme. This is a really elegant dish. Stick around, I'll show you how to do it. So here's our pork chop. I've taken this out of the fridge about 45 minutes ahead of time and I've blotted it as dry as I can get it with paper towels. I like to use bone-in pork chops. The bone runs along this part right here, and that's going to add extra flavor as well as moisture when we go to cook this up. So what we want to do, we want to start by seasoning this very, very generously with salt and pepper. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of sea salt and some black pepper. I've adjusted my grinder to a medium coarse. So you want to get that on really heavily on one side. I'm going to use my hand and press that in. Now I'm going to flip it and hit the other side as well. Okay, so off camera I added the salt and pepper to the other side, and then just the last step is just to hit the sides and mop up as much of that remaining salt and pepper as you can. And that looks good. Okay, and I have a cast iron skillet that I've been preheating on medium-high heat for the last 5 minutes. Very important to make sure your skillet comes up to full temperature. I'm going to go in with just a very small amount of a neutral flavored oil. You really don't need much. And then we're going to add that in, the pork chop, press it down for just a minute. And we're going to allow this to sear. We're going to let it go for 2 full minutes before we flip it onto the other side. Okay, so we're 2 minutes in and I'm going to give it a flip. You'll notice that came right up off the pan. If you let it sear all the way on the first side, it'll come up real easy with no sticking. So I flipped it, and we're going to let it go 2 minutes on the other side. Okay, so that's 2 minutes on the second side. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to flip the pork chop, and we're going to sear that fat cap. And as you do that, you just want to rotate it as you go to hit all sides of the fat cap. Okay, and our chop's still going to need a little bit more time, both to get the interior cooked as well as to brown up that exterior. So I'm going to put it back on the first side, let that go another 1.5 to 2 minutes. Okay, let's flip that one more time. And now you can see we're getting some really nice color on the exterior of that pork chop. Let it go just another minute or two. Okay, and this looks perfect. So I'm going to turn the burner off to allow that to come down in temperature. I'm going to take the pork off the skillet and we're going to check back in just a minute or two for the next step once that cast iron skillet is no longer smoking. Okay, the smoke is almost completely gone, so at this point I'm going to turn the skillet back on to medium heat, and I'm going to go in with one shallot that I've minced up fine. You'll notice we didn't scrape the skillet out, so I'm going to get that in there and just keep it moving. I'm also going to add 1 clove of garlic, minced up. As soon as it hits the skillet, you just want to mix everything as you go. And after just about a minute, you want to deglaze. I'm going to use white wine. You can use other types of liquor. So once you get your alcohol in there, you just want to use a metal spoon or spatula and just scrape up those brown bits from the bottom of the cast iron skillet. And we're going to allow this to reduce. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit. So I let that go a few minutes. You'll notice that the alcohol has reduced in volume and has become syrupy. I'm going to add in some homemade chicken stock. It is imperative that you use homemade stock to get a really nice, thick, rich sauce. So I added that in, and now we're going to allow this to also reduce in volume. Okay, and I've let that reduce for about 5 minutes. We can add a few more ingredients to our sauce. So our pork has been sitting out, and I'm going to pour in the juices from that pork. A lot of flavor there, and you don't want to waste any of it. I'm also going to add just a splash of Worcestershire sauce. That goes really well with the Dijon mustard. I'm going to add a squeeze of fresh lemon. A little acidity always helps in a pan sauce. And our sauce is really coming together. You'll notice that's thickening up. I'm going to let it go for just a few more moments. Okay, so now for the star ingredient of the sauce. I'm going to turn the heat down to low. I'm going to go in with a big spoonful of Dijon mustard. And once your mustard is in there, you just want to stir that around to incorporate it. It's going to help thicken the sauce. And then lastly, I'm going to turn the heat all the way off and go in with a cold knob of butter. And I'm just going to move this around and let it incorporate and emulsify into the sauce. We are almost ready to serve everything up. And as that butter melts, I'm going to add some fresh thyme. Other herbs work really well, but I like thyme with my pork chops. So I'm going to continue stirring this around. Okay, so here's the finished dish. A bone-in pork chop with a Dijon mustard pan sauce. Cannot wait to dig in and give this a try. That turned out absolutely perfect. So there's so much flavor in that sauce. Really, it just goes so well. The Dijon mustard, the fresh thyme, goes really, really well with pork. I've served this up with some oven roasted potatoes, which is a nice side dish. I really hope you enjoyed this dish. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Eric with Simply Elegant Home Cooking, and I'll see you again soon.